Namaste everyone, Yoga Chris here, and I wanted to bring your attention to mood and emotion when you communicate. And this is something that we kind of talked about in my podcast. Every Friday I have a podcast with my friend and mentor Rashta Pardibasar, and you call in for that. But one of the things that we talked about was emotions and mood in communication. And so I wanted to give you my take on this and how you can implement it to improve your communication. A lot of times there's a reluctance to acknowledge how we're feeling, and especially in social situations there might be a hesitancy because of the effect it might create on the social interaction. You know, if we're down and we talk about being down, or if we're happy but we're around people that they're not happy, and so we don't want to create a conflict or a friction there. And it's more in your tonality. So like if I was really sad, I could just, or in pain, let's say I was injured or something, I could be like, I'm in a lot of pain right now. And it could be totally true. And I actually have done that before when, my back is hurting or so. I have a few chronic injuries that they injure over and over from wrestling and things like that. Or vice versa. I could be really, really happy, but I could tone it down with my tone when I come into a social situation where maybe the people aren't so enthusiastic. So I could be like, I'm really happy right now, and because of this, that, and the other thing, and I'm really excited about tomorrow. And so the tone communicates more than the words. And so I'm not being dishonest and I'm not lying to myself. First and foremost, I'm acknowledging how I'm feeling. I'm acknowledging the undercurrent, the mood that's flowing underneath my communication. But at the same time, I'm harmonizing my communication to the frequency of the other individuals or individual. And so this is a key technique, and watch the video again or take note on what I just said, because the tone is going to match. The tone and the I'm avoiding using the word frequency, but the energy and the emotion of my tonality is what will create rapport with the other people. Then the words can acknowledge the reality of what's going on within me, because the last thing that we want is to condition ourselves to communicate in a way that is not acknowledging or neglecting my component in this interaction, the importance of how I'm feeling in this interaction. Now, of course, we don't want it to be all about me, and that's beyond narcissism. That's just like selfish in the worst way. And so we need both. And we find this a lot. For example, I learned this lesson before the talking in the podcast in my pranayama practice. And so there's a lot of aspects of pranayama, especially when you get into alternate nostril breathing, that there's just a limited capacity to take in air. You're limiting down to one nostril, and if there's any congestion in that nostril, then, good luck. And there are techniques around that, of course, like pulling the flesh out or spreading the cheek or doing neti kriya, or what I ended up doing and what I do now is I just count faster because it's for a count. Let's say I inhale for 12 count. And that could be 12 seconds, or it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is like barely 3 seconds. As long as I get to 12. And I do it easier, so I accept and I acknowledge that I'm probably not going to fill my lungs. Pranayama is not to fill the lungs. Pranayama is to become sensitive to the sensations, the emotions, and the quality of mind and the quality of thoughts that come up when you do this practice of breathing with defined count and regulation or rules. Even uncontrolled pranayama, they have rules. Are you breathing in the mouth? What parts of your body are you expanding? And so surrendering to the process, acknowledging that maybe I don't have the capacity to take a full breath right now. I probably won't get to a full breath. How can I adapt the circumstance so that I get the fullest, richest experience out of what it is I'm doing? And so for me, like in that example, I breathe faster and I don't go as complete. And what's so amazing is what usually ends up happening is the nostril, because I'm usually doing that because there's some congestion and, blowing my nose and all of the obvious things just haven't seemed to clear it out. But it's amazing, and I don't know the physiology of why this happens, but what tends to happen is if you take a gentler breath So as opposed to doing that, this would be how I used to do it. If I was a little congested, which I'm not right now, but pretend I'm really congested, I need to get a 12 count inhale, I would do something like this. And then I'd go into my retention. And there's probably a time and a place for that, but now what I would do would be something like this. So it's almost silent. And what ends up happening is after several repetitions of going left to right or whatever the specific pranayama is, in Ashtanga pranayama, primary series pranayama comes out on August 15th. There's 5 pranayama that I go through in that with a series of progressions and how to put them all together. But so let's say I'm doing Nadi Shodhana and I'm alternating. After a few repetitions of alternating, the swollen or congested nostril tends to just open up. In a way that doesn't happen if I just force it. If I keep forcing it, I could do 45 minutes of forcing it in and out that left nostril. And by the end of it, I'm like, my lungs and all of my muscles around my rib cage are tired. And then what's always frustrating is then I take rest, lay on my back for like 5-10 minutes. I get up, I start doing things. Within a couple minutes, my nostrils are open. So it's like, they wouldn't open up while I was doing the pranayama, but they opened up as soon as I finished the pranayama, after I exerted all that effort. But now I've created a little hijack. And a lot of this comes from Krishnamacharya, who is the guru of my pranayama guru. And we don't need to get into it now, but there's a lot of spiritual elements that I've learned from my Tantra teacher, my left-hand path teacher, Frank White. If you don't know Frank White, I recommend his YouTube channel, Grail of the Serpent. And he's got a lot of interesting practices that he does as well. But so basically the message came through to me while I'm practicing pranayama: go easier, count faster, and all will open up. And that's what happens. So it's an acknowledgement and it's a matching the frequency. So if the frequency of my nose congestion is tight and constricted, well then I make my counting really tight and constricted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and all the way up to 30. And what naturally happens is this expansion, this ease in the breath, in the nose, and in a communication. So if I'm talking with somebody and I'm experiencing, let's say I'm carrying with me baggage, as they'd call it, something that just happened to me, and it's unrelated to this person, and the emotion that I'm experiencing is not matching their current emotional state. I acknowledge what's happening to me, I match them with my tone, but my words acknowledge what's happening with me. And this will, just like in surrendering to the limitations of my nose, this will create harmony in your own system, harmony in the communication between you and them, that system, and then there'll be a sense of freedom and expansion that follows. And so I hope you found this helpful. Definitely comment below if you have any comments or questions, or if you did find this helpful. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and August 15th, Ashtanga Primary Series Pranayama comes out at ninthlimb.com for the first 24 hours. It's only $47 to steal. Going to India, training with BNS, coming back, and offering this to you now. So I hope you'll take advantage. And I'll see you next time. Namaste.